We are here at the Village Recording Studio in Los Angeles, California on May 31st, 2021, recording my new solo album, The Future is Calling. And the producer is this handsome guy, Jeff Weber.
You need glasses.
I'm going to ask him some fun questions and see if I can pry some information out of him. And we're just starting the recording today, so we're, our brains are thinking about everything we're going to do in the next couple of days for this process. How many albums do you think you have produced?
Well, even though I can't remember most of them, I know that it's over 200.
Wow. Okay.
But every record is my first record, you know what I mean?
I love it. Good answer. What do you think is the most challenging aspect of what you do? What's the most difficult thing besides dealing with us maniacs?
I think the challenge, of course, is to do the amount of music that we are doing within the time frame that we've allotted with the funding that we've been given. So we don't want to compromise anything, but we have a lot to do at a level of excellence that, our names are on the record, so we have to have that
right
in order to be not competitive, but just in our own hearts and our own minds, just to know that we've done something that means something.
Love it. So we have to be on our game. We have to be fierce. Yeah. Cool.
Oh. Sorry.
What?
I'm good. I'm clear. Sorry.
Go right ahead.
Oh, I didn't know. Sorry. I thought.
Yeah, you go right ahead.
Okay.
No, this is
Part of the interview.
Yeah.
you're
Reaction.
Yes.
This is it.
This is Clark, the recording engineer.
Yes. Hello.
So, what inspired you to get into this
So you got my
lovely
mic?
music business and, decide to be a producer? Do you remember that moment where you thought, you know what, I can pull people together and make something magical happen? Like, what was...
To be honest with you, I wish it was as romantic as that, or as educational as that, but it didn't even happen like that. I had been to law school, and that was extravagantly fulfilling on every level. And I was working as a gopher for a record company called Sheffield Lab, and they did high quality recordings. And I was just a gopher, I just took notes and put stop on tape machines, things like that. And, I was a journalist, and I had been contacted by Cashbox magazine, which was one of the three record industry trade publications at that time. And they were looking for somebody who basically could write about the lawsuits, because in the music business at that time, everybody was suing everybody.
Right.
And they wanted somebody that had law school experience that could synthesize the lawsuits down to 3 paragraphs for their readers. And which is not a comment on the intellectual appeal of their readers or their ability to read, but nevertheless, it did make a difference. I decided that because of all the records that I heard at Cashbox, which were mostly trash, that even somebody like me that didn't know anything about anything could do a recording. And so I thought, okay, I'm Jeff Weber, the record producer. Had I known then what I know now, I would have chosen another occupation. But
Because the music business is so predictable and sane.
Of course.
Right.
And so I went to 3 musicians and I said, I'm Jeff Weber, the record producer. I'm sure you've heard of me. Wink, wink. And I want to do a record with you for a company in St. Louis. And I went to at the same time, I went to the company in St. Louis and I said, you make record care cleaning products. Why don't you make a record and treat it as a marketing tool that you can give away at, electronic shows and things like that? And they said, okay, write us a proposal. I had just graduated from law school, so I had no idea what that was. So I wrote a term paper. And they said, okay. let's do it. You know,
Huh.
I think I charged them $1,600 for my services for 9 months. I was still living at home at the time.
Right.
And I was afraid that the musicians who would ask me, might we have heard anything that you've done? Which is kind of like what everybody asks, but
Right.
being musicians, they decided to ask, so what are we getting paid? And of course I had no idea. So I said, what do you want? They told me a number, and I said, okay. And then they said, where are we recording? And I'm thinking, where are we recording? It's a good question. So at that time, they actually had yellow pages, and I looked up recording studios. I didn't know. Why was I looking up recording studios? What would I know? So I saw a studio in Hollywood called RCA Studios. And RCA Studios, at least I knew the picture of the dog. And so I went there and I said, hey, I'm Jeff Weber. I'm producing these 3 guys, and I'd like a tour. Which is the stupidest thing to say, because what are they going to, they're going to show me around. I won't know anything. And then they asked me, who was my engineer? I'm thinking, doesn't this place come with its own engineer? And of course it didn't. And I asked, what do you recommend? So they recommended somebody to me. It was the wrong guy, but we did the record. And I got a call from the musician saying, what are we playing? And I'm thinking to myself, best we do music where I don't have to talk, because I don't know what to say. So I decided that we would do songs that were old enough that they knew them already. Okay? So we did an album of standards, but we did it direct to disc, which means that the entire side had to be recorded at one time directly onto a lacquer. Cool. There's no tape. It's a very dangerous way to record. A mistake in the third or fourth song.
You have to start from the beginning.
And at that particular point, we went directly to what's known as a cutting wave. We didn't have tape, but there weren't any cutting waves in the recording studio. But in the building on
What year would this have been?
1978. 1978. So the cutting waves were on the third and the fifth floor. 2 separate companies. That had nothing to do with the recording studio. So they threw lines outside the building down into the studio. And in order for us to start, the needle that's cutting the groove has to come down and start the groove, and then the little filament that is left when the stylus cuts into the lacquer has to be sucked into a vacuum tube and then goes into a bottle filled with water, because it's highly flammable. And if it doesn't go into that tube and starts going haywire, that lacquer is defective. And so in order for us to start the recording, I had to actually make a physical phone call to the actual companies and wait for them to tell me that, okay, the chip is in the groove. They call the chip, which is the little filament. And so I would hear from them, okay, the style, and then it was a race to point to the acts, and they would count off with the 4 being silent, and then the whole side would go and hopefully not run into the paper.
Wow. What a freaking process. It sounds so primitive.
It's the most direct, and it actually takes advantage of true artistry and true musicians. And the musicians that we used were fearless. They just thought this was another Tuesday. Tuesday in the studio. Paul Smith, Ella Fitzgerald's piano player. Ray Brown, one of the greatest jazz bass players of all time, and Louis Bellson, a drummer par excellence. I know you know him. These guys just played it like they had rehearsed it a million times. There was no rehearsal. Paul wrote some head charts, and
off you went.
And then the way it worked at that time for me was, after we finished the recording, the grooves start to straighten themselves out on a master lacquer, because the lacquer itself is very soft. So in order to get the grooves to stop straightening themselves out, so what I mean by that is the stylus will cut grooves like this, So on the high frequencies, it's just like this, like you would see on an earthquake measurement. But on the low passages, it goes like this, back and forth. So you get that nice punch and that and the vitality of the
Interesting.
upper registers. But what happens when the lacquer starts to straighten itself out, all of these things that go like this are now going like this. Right? So the impact is softened. So we had to get it in what's called a plating bath, which is like a, photo, like when you're developing photographs, you want to stop the development. So we wanted to stop the lacquer from moving. So, and ultimately the plating bath is, there's electricity that goes through that, and nickel pellets start to adhere to these lacquers, and then ultimately the result is there are stampers, and the stampers are basically at that time used to stamp out these little pucks, which then get smashed into LPs. So I had to get on a plane at midnight to go to New York. That's where the best plating plant was. I waited in the lobby until they said the stampers are ready, and I flew to Japan because that's where the best pressing plants.
Wow.
And that was how we did that's how I did every record. So it was a full thing.
Right.
And then I had fun creating the album covers. We didn't have any record labels at the time that were interested, so except for our own. So I created a whole. It was fantastic, and 180 gram. And I've talked for way too long about this question, have I not?
I love it. I love all this geeky recording stuff. Well, I thank you. We're excited about today. And here we go.
All right, let me tell you a little bit about this recording. Okay.
That's a great idea. It's a great idea.
Okay. You're not getting off that easy. So imagine my hair is black and doesn't come off at night.
Right.
And I get a phone call from you, somebody that I did not know. I don't even know how you found me or something like that. This is 35 years ago, back in the 1880s. And and you said something to the effect, correct me if I'm wrong, "Hey Jeff, you don't know me, but can we do some songs together?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And 35 years ago, we did 4 songs, and we used the finest musicians on the planet at that time. And you took a hell of a long time to decide to work with me again, because here we are 35 years later. But in the meantime, you were a music teacher all this time, but secretly writing, secretly playing out 5 nights a week. And we decided that we were going to do another few songs for the purest of reasons. Not to compete at radio, not to, there's no fashion statements here. This is just basically for the purity of the music, which is the most honest and wonderful way to make records. So many records are based on beats per minute, and radio,
Beats and loops, right?
Compression and charts and all this other stuff. And it can't be more than 3 minutes and 52 seconds. And so in our case, this was coming from a good place, as they say. So we again, took into consideration your loves, horns, strings, background vocals, percussion, and came up with a rhythm section, par excellence, that really you can't really touch. Interestingly enough, the drummer 35 years ago was Vinnie Colaiuta, probably one of the top 5 drummers on the planet in recorded music. Vinnie is our drummer today, 35 years later. And what's so amazing about it is that he actually remembers the first session 35 years ago. My toughest question is, how was your weekend? Because I have no idea what happened last weekend, but he remembered you from 35 years ago. Or else he's lying. But Vinny is he's the greatest, and the band is something that these people are your people now. We prepared heavily for this for like 9 months, and reviewed all your songs, chose the songs that we thought might be befitting, but also getting ready for the next series. If we when we get the opportunity to do that, to expand on. The Future is Calling, which is in essence a musical, and we're doing a first couple of songs, and we're going to do this live to multi-track, and we're going to have as much fun as humanly possible that's legal. Actually, forget legal. We're going to have as much fun as humanly possible, whether it's illegal, immoral, or fattening. We're doing it.
Yeah, baby.
That's it, man. You know.
Here we go. I am here with the esteemed Jeffrey Weber, and we actually are towards the end of the second day of doing lots of tracking.
The end is in sight.
The end is in sight for our 2 tracking days, and so we're checking in. And what are your thoughts?
I think we should change the name of the title of the record to "Be Careful What You Wish For."
Be
9
careful
months ago.
what you wish for.
9 months ago, you gave me some thoughts about what you love and, who you like and what you want to do. And I think we've kind of overwhelmed both of ourselves with, our cup runneth over with the people and the joyous music. And it's an unbelievable achievement to do what we did in the time that we have.
Extremely well said. Like the germ of the idea and then where we are now, totally agree. Yeah.
You know what was amazing about this whole project? Normally when you hire a musician that you don't really know, there's a certain tentativeness in doing anything outside what is written on the page. And with your permission, we encouraged every musician to do just the opposite, to look at a chart only as a red light, green light type of thing, because we hired the finest, most amazing, most gentle, most nourishing souls on the planet who are mofos when it comes to what they do. And we said, hey, listen, we hired you to be you. So
right.
If you just hear something or know something or feel something, do not ask permission. Do it. Right. Todd becomes the immediate beneficiary. And we found ourselves with people going, oh, wait, let us add this. We think this would be great. And, oh, I need to do an additional stem. Let me just send that to you. And by no means did anybody ask for any money. They just, as a matter of fact, I don't think anybody even asked us what they were getting paid. And
How beautiful is that?
If you're a musician, that's almost against the musician's code of wallets.
Of survival. Right.
So it just goes to show you that, your passion and the purity of this project, not being contrived, not being made for radio, not being for fashion, not being for trends, sets the stage for great people to play great music in real time. And,
what he said.
I kept hearing, these are really good songs. And I said, we know that.
I have a question for you. This is going to be a fun question, and I'm going to catch you off guard here. But did you have any nervousness about me? Were you like, okay, it's been 35 years since I recorded with Todd. How's this going to roll?
Well, actually, the only trepidation that I have is I was hoping that after 35 years, you didn't look like me, because it would be hard to look at you knowing you were that butt ugly. That was my only trepidation. Other than knowing that you put your whole heart and soul and funding into this record, which was no easy feat, I think that you have a character voice, a voice that's passionate, but it's you, and it's committed, but it's you. So there's many types of voices that are wonderful voices, and not all of them are Andrea Bocelli.
Right.
Right? I mean, the most characteristic voices that tell a story of our generation, Tom Waits, Billy Joel, Bob Dylan, those are character voices. No one would ever accuse them of having, this type of operatic or stunning, pop star Steve Perry type voice. But it's not the voice. It's the character of the voice. And I think in any singer, that's the most important part. I don't care whether a singer is sharp or flat. All I care about is if I believe what they're saying.
Love it.
And that's where we get into the purity of what you're trying to do.
All right, so I have another cool question.
Oh God, I'm double parked. Okay.
What is a highlight that comes to mind from all these cool tracks that we've been working on? If you could think of just something off the top of your head, can you remember Benny Collier's drums, the horn section? Is there the background vocals? Is there something where just off the top of your head where you just go, that was cool, dude?
When I see your face filled with satisfaction, that's the highlight for me. Remember,
I'm gonna have a tear in my eye here in a second.
but remember, I'm the producer and you're the artist. So if you're over the moon about what happened,
I'm over the moon.
what more highlight could I want? I mean, I know Vinny, I
Right.
know Ron,
Right.
I know all these people, but to have all those things come together that we worked so hard for 9 months, and all the arrangers, we had different arrangers for every single thing, and so when all of those pieces come together. And to see your expression when you know that, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I was hearing in my head almost a year ago. That's the highlight for me.
Yeah, that's so cool.
You know, because when I go home, my wife asked me how was my day, and I said, well, Todd was really great. And she said, well, fantastic, take out the trash.
I think that's most people's experience on planet Earth.
There's a certain person in your life that just levels you out and lets you understand that reality is going to smack you.
When do you think our next project can be?
I can tell you exactly when it's going to be. We are setting up a music festival in Santa Barbara for October of next year, 2022, and you're all invited. I expect to see you all there. I'm taking names and numbers. And at that particular point in time, if we have done our job, both of us, then we will have prepared the next record, but we'll have an opportunity at the festival where you will be singing and performing to showcase the songs. It'll be too late to change them because we'll already have had them arranged and this and that. But we'll get a sense of what works with the audience. You'll use that festival as a warm-up thing. And since you're out here in Santa Barbara, which, by the way, is a horrible place to be at any time of the year,
Right.
you know.
Who would want to be in Santa Barbara?
Oh my God, temperate weather, right at the beach.
Right.
You know,
Right.
ties are outlawed. My type of sound, my type of town, you know. Shorts of the religious
I think
moment.
Kenny
of the day.
Loggins lives there.
Well, Michael McDonald, Kenny Loggins, Alan Parsons, and Christopher Cross,
Oh, man.
who, if we play our cards right, will also be singing at the same festival as you.
Yeah.
And right after that, you know, we'll have booked some time in Los Angeles here or another one of our joints, and we'll make the record there. You know, so keep an eye out for that. Now, here's my last question. Did we not have the most fun ever?
Most fun ever. I mean, artistically, just floods my soul. It floods my soul. It's just so beautiful. And you guys are going to hear it when you hear this album. You're going to hear it. It's magical. Thank you, Jeff.
And it's not passive. I mean, it is in your face.
It's not passive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You will. We will not make
This
it
is
passive.
not cocktail piano at the restaurant with the dimmed lights.
Yeah. No,
No.
this is a statement.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing about it, you know. And everybody got along with everybody else. Everybody appreciated everybody
beautiful.
else. And we did an incredible amount of work in a really
Yeah.
tight space.
Yeah, we had to save money. Yeah.
I don't think most people understand what it takes to do a complete rhythm section, percussion, strings, horns, background vocals, and lead vocals on the same day,
Right.
times two. You know, it's emotionally and physically exhausting. And so,
But I'm happy exhausted right now.
yeah. So,
I have a glow.
yeah. And it's, it's a wonderful but crazy time.
Yes.
You know? So
What he said.
we're going to do stereo mixes, and we're going to do one of the songs 5-channel surround sound mix. And, you know, Todd is going to kill it. You know, that's what's next. And keep an eye out. It's going to be banging.